What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Talk with Beers, episode 126, the Wednesday news. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about college football because Georgia showed us why they are the #1 team in the nation. Plus, we got news out of the Dodger locker room, another player on the IL, and we got NASCAR playoffs starting on Sunday. But first, let's head into the NHL. So we'll start this one in Chicago. We got news out of the Blackhawks organization that Laurent Brossoit will miss 5 to 7 weeks with a meniscus injury. New goaltender in town for Chicago. Brossoit signing, I believe, only a 1-year deal with the Hawks. So hopefully he's able to get that knee ready for the start of training camp, I guess. Carolina and Jesper Fast have announced that they will not be seeing him on the ice this upcoming season. He is going to miss the whole season due to a neck injury that he sustained in the final game of the regular season back in April of the 16th. It's actually a long ways out to just find out that he's going to be done the rest of the year. I don't know if they held off on surgery or just they figured out that he's still just not going to be able to come back in that time frame. So overall, tough news for Jesper Fast and Carolina, but we got some good news coming out of there a little bit later on in a couple of minutes here. Then we head to St. Louis, where defenseman Torrey Krug will also miss the entire season. He is going to be gone with an ankle injury, so that's tough news coming out of St. Louis. St. Louis is really that team that's kind of a borderline team. Are they good? Are they not? That's at least in my eyes. And Torrey Krug definitely makes that team better on the defensive side. So to not see him in the lineup, tough one to look at. So that's tough news out of the Blues organization. Now let's head into contracts. We'll start off in Ottawa, where Ottawa signs Florida's Nick Cousins to 1 year, $800K. This guy's a rat. If you guys know what I mean, then you'll know exactly that he is. Nick Cousins, kind of a dirty player, doesn't seem to stand up for himself, lets other people fight his own battles kind of thing. So we'll see him in Ottawa. Don't know if he'll keep the antics up. He's got Brady Tkachuk to kind of help him out with all the fighting. But I'm curious. I'm curious to see if he's going to keep up those antics this upcoming season. Then we head back to Carolina, where Seth Jarvis got a huge extension. He got 8 years, $63.2 million. Congrats to Jarvis in Carolina. I think they're really excited to have him in a Hurricanes uniform for the next 8 years. And I think it's actually a really good signing. I think Seth Jarvis has proven that he could be one of those top 6, if not top 3 forwards on that Carolina offense. And I think Jarvis, give him maybe a little bit more time, he definitely is going to be that top guy in the Hurricanes lineup. Now we head to the biggest contract in NHL history when it comes to annual average value. We're heading to Edmonton. They have re-signed and extended Leon Draisaitl, 8 years, $14 million AAV. That is the largest contract in NHL history for average annual value, which is overall huge. I mean, this is a huge contract, huge player, definitely well-deserved. I think Edmonton is very excited to have Leon stay in the city. This is honestly has been circling the last couple of seasons, that if Edmonton wasn't going to be able to show that they could win, or did it win by that contract extension, or before that contract was going to be extended, will Leon walk? I mean, we had 1 year in between his contract ending and McDavid's contract ending. And by the sounds of it, we are going to have probably both Leon and Connor McDavid in an Edmonton uniform for as long as they should play. I mean, by the sounds of it. So Leon's going to be there for 8 more years. And I think this is going to be a great deal in the long term. Does it suck it's $14 million for Edmonton? Yes, but that cap is going to go up. And I think if you're going to lose a guy like Leon Draisaitl because of maybe $1 million or $2 million difference on AAV for what he produces at his rate, I don't think that's an easy one to say no to. So I think Leon getting that $14 million, definitely well deserved. I really do think that's a really good contract extension there. All right, to end this episode or this topic of NHL, we're going to head to probably the saddest news I've heard in a long time when it comes to athletes and, unfortunately, them passing away. Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau passed away later last week, excuse me. They were in New Jersey area. and they were going to go to a wedding the following day for their sister who was getting married. They were going home from a party or something like that on their bikes, and unfortunately, they were struck by a drunk driver, and they passed away. Uh, Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, everybody knows him. One of the top players when he was at BC. Played there for 3 years, won a national championship as a freshman. Also scored a game clinching goal in that game against Ferris State. Won that game 4-1 for the Eagles. Played all 44 games as a freshman, played 35 games as a sophomore, and 40 games as a junior. He only missed 2 games in his college career, only because he was in the World Juniors where he also won gold. So great accolades before he even made the NHL. He was also drafted by Calgary in 2011 in the 4th round, played 9 years in Calgary before jumping ship to Columbus, signed a really nice contract there, and it seemed like it was going to be a pretty good future for the Columbus Blue Jackets with Johnny Gaudreau and Adam Fantilli and Kent Johnson. A lot of good players in that rotation. But unfortunately, probably the saddest news I've ever heard. An athlete passing away. I'm lost for words. When I heard the news, I didn't want to believe it at first. I thought maybe it can't be true, kind of thing. And then I looked more and more into it, dug a little bit more, and fortunately, that day he did pass away. Him and his brother Matthew. All I could see was posts, some really awesome posts with players talking about their relationship with Johnny and Matthew and who they were as a person. And to hear those stories, it's awesome. It really does keep his legacy alive, and he's definitely not going to be forgotten in the hockey world. I definitely will not forget him. I think the first time I can remember Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, love to call him Johnny Hockey, so I think it's a great nickname. It's his time in Calgary. I mean, I'm an Anaheim fan, so obviously Anaheim plays Calgary a lot in that Pacific Division, and he used to torture Anaheim, especially in the playoffs. Anaheim used to have their number for a long time, but got to a point where Calgary was taking notes, and they were dominating Anaheim, and Johnny Gaudreau was the reason behind that. I mean, that guy scored so much, made some electric offensive plays. I mean, he played 602 games in Calgary, 210 goals, 609 total points. So the guy played unbelievable in Calgary, and he also tallied another 134 points in 161 games with 2 seasons in Columbus. Probably one of the best players coming out of I think he was from New Jersey as well, New Jersey area. So yeah, I mean, it's tough news. It's hard to swallow. It's hard to think about. But it really does kind of shine the light that you never know what the next day is going to bring. It's the kind of thing where when I heard the news, it just made you want to say, just call your mom and dad, call your siblings, call anyone you love, and just check in, tell them you love them, kind of thing. Because you don't know what the next day is going to bring. And it's super sad news. It hurts, and it's the kind of thing where I hope his legacy is not forgotten when it comes to 5, 6, 7 years down the line. Obviously, this upcoming season will be really tough for the Blue Jackets Calgary fans, big time. I would see some patches on their helmets or their jerseys commemorating Johnny Gaudreau, maybe a little 13 sticker or something like that on the back of their helmets. I think that'd be a really classy move by both teams, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to not have any more Johnny Hockey in the NHL world. So my condolences to the family, to Matthew and Johnny's family, and anyone who's close to them. I can't imagine what you guys are all going through, especially at the timing of this with their sister getting married the day after. Just very tough news, very hard pill to swallow, and my condolences go out to the family. All right, let's head to the MLB now. We'll start off in Houston. They announced that Chas McCormick has been sent down to AAA. Honestly, McCormick has just not been hitting well, and I think that's pretty much the reason behind it. Then we head to LA, where Clayton Kershaw came off the IL, pitched in a game, did not even get through 2 innings in Arizona this past weekend. Back on the IL with a bone spur on his toe. Right now, I believe it's only a 10-day, but I expect it to be probably a little bit longer than that. Kansas City got a lot of news with their roster. Vinny Pasquantino, their star first baseman, will miss 6 to 8 weeks with a broken right thumb. That's tough news, especially coming up with playoffs right around the corner here. But they did go out and claim 2 players off of waivers. Yurli Gurriel most likely will take that first baseman spot, or at least probably on the roster. And Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham was in St. Louis and was on the waivers, outright waivers after looks like St. Louis is not going to make playoffs. So those are 2 big names going over to Kansas City. We'll see what happens with the Royals going towards the playoff push, though. San Diego also announced that they're signing Nick Ahmed to a minor league deal. Not sure if that's really going to be a big deal. I really don't think it's going to be a big deal, but it's just something to note. And lastly, Shohei Ohtani returns to Anaheim. I'm recording this on Tuesday night. He actually made his return tonight. The game is still going on. It is unfortunately 6-2 in the bottom of the 10th for the Dodgers right now. Angels got their last at-bats, it looks like. But Shohei, I believe, is only 1 for 3. He's reached on an error or walked, one of the 2. Also had a triple and scored a run in the process of this game, his return to Anaheim. But really awesome standing ovation. It's really cool to see him back in Anaheim. It is also very weird to think about him again as a Dodger uniform. He's in the opposite clubhouse, but he's having an unbelievable season. I think he's on 44 home runs, 45 stolen bases, something around that as I'm recording this. So Ohtani, I don't think he's going to slow down anytime soon. I think he's definitely crushing that 50-50 season. So I just can't wait for him to do it, though. All right, let's head to the NFL. We'll start off in New England. We got a new quarterback starting quarterback for week 1. Jacoby Brissett was announced as the quarterback. That means Drake May will be backing him up. Don't know if May will get any time during the season. I expect him to. New England should not be very good this year, so I don't think Brissett will stay in that starting quarterback role for that much longer. But week 1, we're going to see Jacoby Brissett. We head to Philadelphia, where James Bradberry will be out 6 to 8 weeks with a leg injury. This is tough timing as the season starts Thursday. Eagles play the Packers, in Brazil on Friday, so he will be missing the first 6 to 8 games of the season. So very tough news for the Eagles there. Now let's head into a lot of contract reconstructions and extensions. We'll start off in Cleveland, where Deshaun Watson got a reconstructed contract to help free up $36 million in cap space for the Browns. Overall, $62 million cap space for the Browns. I think that's awesome. It's going to make this team very possible to go out to go get a big name at deadline, if not even before. So I think in the long term, if Cleveland looks good and they want to make a push, I think reconstructing that contract now definitely gives the GM and the Browns hope for the future, that they could potentially bring multiple, if not one, really awesome star guy into that lineup for them. So we'll see what happens later on in the season. Then we head to San Francisco. We got two names, to throw out there. Brandon Ayuk finally agrees on a new contract extension, 4 years, $120 million, with some guarantee. With I think about 60% of that is guaranteed as well, 60 or 70%. Brandon Ayuk has been sitting out for the last 6 weeks or something like that. Maybe even longer. Very happy that it's done and over with, and it's back. That he will be back in this lineup. Overall, I do like Ayuk. Don't get me wrong, Arizona State guy. I love everybody who goes to Arizona State, or I would say most people that go to Arizona State. There are some guys, obviously, I'm not going to be a huge fan of. I'm not going to say them out loud here. But Ayuk is one of those guys that I was a huge fan of in college. I thought he played great. Super excited to see him go to one of my favorite teams, the 49ers. But I do think this is very expensive for a third or fourth option on an offense, because if you look at San Francisco's offense, you got Christian McCaffrey, who's probably offensive choice number 1, Debo, who's offensive choice number 3, and then Ayuk and Kittle as back and forth as option number 3 or 4, depending on what the play is, how they're going to run it. So I would say that Ayuk is well deserving of this contract. He puts up good numbers. He's a great offensive threat. But my curiosity is, if he was the number one option in an offense, would he be putting up the same numbers as he is right now? As of right now, I don't think he would. I think he'd put up really good numbers, but I don't think he'd be putting up the same numbers he's doing in San Francisco right now, which gets me to think that I don't think this contract is overall worth it. What is going on with my light? My light keeps going on and off. I have not had this problem before, so I don't know what the hell's going on. Hopefully that stays on. But I think Ayuk is going to be that guy in San Francisco that's going to be really good year. It's going to be a little bit slow, I think, to start off because he's missed most of training camp. But I think overall it's going to be a really good season for the Niners and Brandon Ayuk. Staying in San Francisco, we got a reconstructing of a contract. Offensive lineman Trent Williams. He will have now 3 years, $82.66 million. I'm not surprised. I mean, Trent Williams is one of the best offensive linemen in the league. And if you can't have him on the field, Brock Purdy's probably not going to have enough time to make those options to get the ball to Ayuk, to get the ball to Debo, Kittle. So I think bringing Williams in right before the season starts, obviously I think it's going to be a little shaky at the beginning, just like Ayuk, but I think it's the right move to do, and you can't go a game without Williams if you have that option. So good job by John Lynch to get those deals done right before the season starts. And last contract, Pittsburgh. They announced that they're extending Cam Hayward to 3 years, $45 million. Really good contract. I think Hayward is a great fit in Pittsburgh, so hopefully it works out well in this upcoming season, though. All right, let's head to college football now. We got a lot to cover. We'll start off with unfortunate injury news. North Carolina quarterback Mac Johnson will be out the rest of the season due to a broken leg. He had surgery to repair it, went successful, but he will be gone for the rest of the year. Let's get into game recaps. We're going to start off in Arizona. Arizona played New Mexico. They won 61-29. A really good back and forth game. That's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about wide receiver McMillan. This guy went off. Potential Heisman Trophy candidate, I think, based off of just week 1. 10 catches, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns for him. Fafita, he's also been a Heisman candidate name throwing out so far. Fafita, I think, had around 360 or 70 yards, 4 touchdowns. So all touchdowns went to McMillan, and 90% of the pass yards went to McMillan's way. So those two are going to be an absolute demon of a threat. It's going to be awesome to watch those two slinging around all season long. All right, let's head to Saturday's slate where we had Clemson versus number 1 ranked Georgia. This was a good neutral field environment. Georgia honestly was the home team. It was played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This game was not great to watch. Let's be real here. Clemson lost big, 34-3. It looks like their offense is going to be the problem of this. Their offense did not do good. 142 pass yards, 1 interception for the quarterback of Clemson. Georgia, Carson Beck, looked a lot better, but not absolutely perfect. Really slow first half for the Bulldogs and the Tigers, but Bulldogs still able to pull out in that second half, so good win overall by them. Then we head to Oregon versus Idaho. Honestly, this game was not that special, but the scoreline was a lot closer than it should have been. Dylan Gabriel went 380 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. James, their running back, 15 carries, 95 yards for a touchdown. Johnson, wide receiver, 12 catches, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really good game from the offensive side, but yet still only put up 24 points in this one. Where Idaho Vandals, really good FCS school, only put up 14 in this one, but their defense kept it really close and entertaining. Was a very close game all the way through, so the Ducks do end up getting a win in this one, but I would say that offense is a little shaky. Could have just been the first week, but they should have been able to finish a lot of those drives, and they just were not able to. Now let's head to College Station, where we had number 20 Texas A&M hosting number 7 Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish come out on top 23-13 in this one. Honestly, a very boring game. Not a good offensive game. Defense went great in this one. I thought defense was outstanding in this game. A couple of drives that I thought should have been finished. I thought the Irish had some better offensive choices. Definitely had a couple of drives where they went for a fourth down, got past halfway, and still were not able to score in the end. So a lot of wasted drives. Overall, not a bad game. Could have been a little bit of the week 1 blues, but Notre Dame gets that big road win that they needed this season. Now we head to Vanderbilt, where Vanderbilt hosted Virginia Tech. Why am I talking about Vanderbilt versus Virginia Tech? Because this was the best morning game slate, I think, out of all these games. And we had Georgia and Clemson as one of the morning slates, which ended up not being that great of a game. But Vanderbilt ended up edging Virginia Tech in overtime, 34-27. Great game in this one. Pavia had an outstanding performance. Needs to hold on to the ball better. Did have 2 fumbles. They were not lost, but 2 fumbles in this game. Vanderbilt, I don't think it's going to be a good team, but that's a huge win for that program. ACC, honestly, just not looking good. A lot of tough losses, and I'll get to another team later that comes from the ACC, but that's just not a good loss for Virginia Tech. They should have won this game, should not have gone to overtime, but Vanderbilt finds a way to get it done. Then we had on, Sunday, we had USC versus LSU, 23-13. LSU ends up dropping this one 27-20. A great 2-minute drive by the Trojans to win this one, scoring on a rushing play with 15 yards out or something like that. They were already in field goal range. Looked like they were going to go for a field goal, but floodgates open, wide open. Might as well go for the touchdown, get the win, put the exclamation point out there. So USC gets a huge win to start off the season, but LSU have now lost every season opener since 2020. They lost this year to USC. Last 2 years before that, they lost to Florida State. In 2021, they lost to UCLA, and in 2020, they lost to Mississippi State. I don't know what's going on with LSU. It seems like ever since Joe Burrow has left, it really has not been the same. And they got to figure that out now, because Brian Kelly, I think, is going to be on a hot seat if they're not able to produce in this big season. This should be a season where they make playoffs, but if they can't make playoffs and it's a 12-team season, a 12-team playoff, I think you got to look at maybe Brian Kelly and potentially look into a new head coach. I don't know if Kelly's is the right option for that team. All right, and lastly, we'll talk about Monday night's game. Boston College versus number 10, Florida State. Florida State coming off a tough loss in Ireland against Georgia Tech, hosting this one against the Eagles. And the Eagles just wiped the floor with a 28-13 win for Boston College on the road against a top 10 school. Florida State 0-2 to start the year. Does not seem to be their year. And honestly, I think I don't know. I want to say it's DJ Uyunglele. That's the problem, but I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Florida State. They should be better than this, yet they're not. They have better players than Boston College, but yet they did not produce anything that was positive in that game in my eyes. I thought it was a very boring game from their offensive standpoint. Boston College just played that game super smart, so congrats to you guys. Huge win by the Eagles, but Florida State, they got to figure it out because there's not a lot of wiggle room left in this long season. 2 losses, both to ACC schools. I think ACC championship might be out the window now, but it's very slim. I don't think it's gone, but it's super slim that I don't think they're going to make it to that title game, let alone win it. So they got to figure it out very soon. All right, let's head to the top 25 now, where we had some good movement this week. We'll start off with number 1, Georgia. They didn't move at all. Ohio State stays put at 2. Texas gets a +1 to 3. Alabama gets a +1 to 4. Notre Dame gets a +2 to 5. Ole Miss stays put at 6. Oregon drops 4 to 7. Penn State stays put at 8. Missouri gets a +2 to 9. Michigan drops 1 to 10. Utah gets a +1 to 11. Miami jumps up 7 to 12. USC jumps up 10 to 13. Tennessee jumps up 1 to 14. Oklahoma jumps up 1 to 15. Oklahoma State and Kansas State both also jump up 1 to 16 and 17. LSU drops 5 to 18. Kansas gets a plus 3 to 19. Arizona gets a plus 1 to 20. Iowa gets a plus 4 to 21. Louisville and Georgia Tech go from unranked to 22 and 23. NC State stays put at 24, and Clemson stays just in the top 25, dropping 11 though to 25. Other receiving votes: Texas A&M had 97, Boston College had 49, Boise State had 47, Iowa State had 32, and Memphis and Nebraska both had 27 votes. All right, let's head to some notable matchups this upcoming weekend. We'll start off in the game day game, 9 a.m. in the morning on Fox. Number 3 Texas going up to Ann Arbor to face number 10 Michigan. Should be a really good matchup, really good test for Quinn Ewers and the Longhorns offense. I think it should be a really entertaining game. Hopefully it's better than what we got in Georgia and Clemson, but I think this should be a really fun game to watch. Then we got number 14 Tennessee versus number 24 NC State, 4:30 p.m. on ABC. I'm very high on the Wolfpack this year. I hope that keeps on going, especially with Florida State pretty much losing that opportunity to stay in the top 25 and losing that chance to be in the ACC title game. I think NC State has a great chance to get into there now. So I think it's a huge opportunity for them to beat Tennessee. So fingers crossed there. Colorado versus Nebraska, 4:30 p.m. on NBC. Really good old rivalry between these two universities. I think it should be a really entertaining game. Boise State versus number 7 Oregon. I think a lot of people are very high on Boise State this year to be that 5th conference champion out of the non-Power 4 conferences. And Oregon, I want to see what they do against a better team. Boise State had a great rushing game. Their running back had over or just under 300 yards, which is a program history, and also 4 touchdowns on the ground. So they're able to stop the run game. Plus, is Boise State defense able to stop Dylan Gabriel? A lot of question marks on both sides. I think it should be an entertaining game. That's 7 p.m. on Peacock. Then lastly, I got Texas Tech versus Washington State, 7 p.m. on Fox. I don't think Texas Tech had a very good game at all. They should have lost in overtime to Abilene Christian. They won that one 52-51. Washington State put up 70 points on Portland State. Yeah, it's Portland State, but put up 70 points. They were definitely going to win that game regardless. So the way I look at this, you got Pac-12 versus Big 12. I think Washington State, this is a statement game for them to prove that they should have been taken into a Power 5 conference. And I think Big 12 was one of those conferences they expected to get into, did not get a bid into that one. So I think Washington State, they win this one, really just kind of throws out the big FU to the Big 12 and Texas Tech. So I'm kind of rooting for Washington State, even though I'm supposed to be a Big 12 guy as an Arizona State fan, but I think should be really entertaining game. That's 7 o'clock on Fox. All right, let's hit the underdog pick. Last week, I had North Dakota State, and they covered. The boys got me within 10 points, so I got 5 points for that cover, meaning my season total goes up to 10. This upcoming week, though, I got Boise State versus Oregon. Oregon ranks 7th in the nation. Boise State coming into this one as a plus 19. I think that's an easy cover. I think Boise State has a really good team. I don't think they should outright win. I don't think that's not a chance, but I think it's going to be an entertaining game. A lot of question marks, as I said earlier. So I think Boise State keeps it close and gets me at the very least a cover. Potential outright win, but who knows? All right, last thing to do before we wrap this one up for college football. We got your Arizona State update from last week. ASU is 1-0 to start off the year. A big win at home against Wyoming, 48-7 victory there. Should have had a shutout. Fucking Wyoming at the very end called a couple timeouts just to try and get on the board. End up going their way. I think we had second team defense in though, so whatever. But a big win regardless. A couple missed field goals, which I thought was big. Not good kind of part, but hopefully that doesn't translate too much to this upcoming weekend where we host the SEC opponent, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We open this one up as a 6.5 point favorite. I think ASU has a good chance to win this game. Mississippi State did not play anybody good last week. They played Eastern Kentucky. Put up a lot of points against them, but yet again, Eastern Kentucky. So I don't think the Bulldogs are ready to play a big school. Is ASU technically a big school? I don't know. Big win against Wyoming. But I think ASU has a good chance to put up a victory in this one. They've actually never beat an SEC school in their program history, so they're looking to do so this Saturday, and I think they have a great opportunity to do that. So maybe ASU goes 2-0. That's definitely best case scenario. But yet again, I would not be surprised if Mississippi State does just edge out the Devils in this. All right, let's head to the cleanup now, where we start off with Uruguay. Do you remember that big scuffle in the Copa America semifinals versus Colombia? A lot of the Colombian fans were yelling at Uruguay friends and family and saying stuff, and those players of those families got into the stands. A lot of punches were thrown, a lot of verbal things were said. So the players that were involved in that scrum, I guess, I don't even know what to call it. Their punishments were handed out. So Darwin Nunez is going to get 5 games, a $20,000 fine. Rodrigo Bentancur will get 4 games, $16,000 fine. And then we got Ronald Araujo, Matthias Oliveira, and Jose Maria Jimenez. They will all get 3 games and a $12,000 fine each. So I'm not surprised that these guys are getting suspended. I'm kind of surprised it took them this long to come up with the punishment, but I really do think it was well deserved. If anybody would be messing with my family, I think I'd do anything I can to protect them. So I don't blame any of these guys for standing up for their family and protecting one another, their friends and family, in that scary moment in the stands there. We'll stay in soccer for just a little bit. Kieran Trippier of England and Luis Suarez of Uruguay both announced their retirements from international duty. Trippier, I think, only played 34 caps, not that much work. But Luis Suarez, one of the best Uruguayan, I think is how you say it, Uruguayan players of all time. I think he's got the caps record and the goals record for the nation. Is going to go down as one of the best Uruguayan players of all time, hands down. I think he's always going to be idolized in Uruguay. I think the only man to potentially get to him, it might be Darwin Nunez. He is a great goal scorer. It was on a tear in the Copa America, so maybe he gets up to Suarez, but he's going to have to play a long time because Luis Suarez put up crazy numbers. But congrats to both you, Suarez and Trippier, on representing your country. Now we head to Arizona State, where ASU are getting new hockey jerseys for this upcoming season. Here's a picture of them now. Very basic looking uniform. Says Arizona State across the front. We got maroon and white based uniforms. Pretty much just inverse of each other with some gold, maroon, and white striping on the arms. The text on the front is the classic Arizona State font that we see now on most of their branding. So nothing too special there, nothing too basic. The back of the uniform, same number font as the front, but on the back names, you had that Philadelphia Flyers, kind of like that back name plate colored. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that, so I would get rid of that and just keep it just kind of traditional looking. I don't think that the nameplate color behind looks good. I don't like it on the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't like it on the ASUs. But overall, I'll take it, but if I had a choice, I'd just get rid of it. Looking at both uniforms, what would I grade them? I'd say 7.1. They look nice. They look clean. But based off of what we've had last year, I don't really think these are all too special. I'm just curious on what it means for the uniforms this upcoming season. Which ones are going to be gone? Which ones are going to come back? Because ASU has a lot of uniforms. They got the digital camo. They got the Pat Tillman military service jerseys. They have the baseball Barry Bonds jerseys. They have the Vegas Devils jersey. They have pitchfork jerseys. I think 2 of those, if not 3 of those. They have a lot of uniform combinations. I don't know if these are going to be added into that collection, or these are going to be replacing maybe a couple pitchfork uniforms for this upcoming season. But should be interesting. Should be very fun season, though, for Arizona State. A lot of road games, but going into a new conference, the NCHC, a lot of expectation, and hopefully a lot of positivity coming out of this upcoming season for Arizona State. Let's head to basketball. We had Golden State Warriors announcing that they have agreed with Steph Curry on a 1-year, $62.6 million extension. Not surprised, Steph Curry anywhere else besides Golden State does not seem right to me. So pay him whatever he needs to keep him in a Warriors uniform. Now let's end this one on some racing. We'll head to Formula One first, where the Haas driver Kevin Magnussen received a one race ban for the next race because of his clash with Pierre Gasly in the last race. So he's going to get one race ban because of that. And NASCAR playoffs are starting this weekend. Tyler Reddick ended up winning the regular season, even though he's only ranked third in the standings, so I don't know how that works. Wish I could tell you guys, but I don't even know. But here are the field of 16. So we had Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron as your top four. Then 5 through 8, we had Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and Brad Keselowski. Then in 9 through 12, we had Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, and Alec Bowman. Then 13 through 16, Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, Ty Gibbs, and Martin Truex Jr. Right now, if I had to pick anybody to win it this season, it's either Tyler Reddick or Ryan Blaney. I'm kind of a Ryan Blaney fan. I went to the Phoenix race earlier in the season, and I had to pick a driver because you got to pick a driver when you're going to a race. And I picked Ryan Blaney. I thought Blaney was going to be the guy to win it, and I think his 12 car has been really consistently good. So I think Blaney could technically get a chance to win it this year. Tyler Reddick has looked really good in the past couple of races, so maybe he's able to kind of keep it going with him. So I think those are the top 2 drivers for me to win the championship. So should be fun playoffs because I've watched the last couple of races and they've been really entertaining. So gonna be exciting to watch these playoffs. All right, let's head to the games of the weekend. We'll start off in the MLB. We got Tampa Bay versus Baltimore. That's a 3-game set. NFL starts this weekend. Starts on Thursday with the Chiefs, and you got Friday with the Brazil game with the Packers and Eagles. Then Sunday, you got everybody else playing, and Monday Night Football as well. But for Sunday, because it's the games of the weekend, I got Tennessee versus Chicago, 10 a.m. on Fox. Caleb Williams' first game as an NFL pro. Very excited to watch that game. Very excited to see what Williams is able to do in that Bears uniform with real reps, real stats going to his record. So should be a really fun game to watch. For college football, Saturday at 9 a.m. on Fox, I got Texas versus Michigan. Easy choice right there. NASCAR, Atlanta Motor Speedway this week, Sunday at 12 p.m. on the USA Network. And lastly, for soccer, we actually have a lot of international friendlies, so a lot of leagues are on break besides the MLS. But international friendly, USA versus Canada. Very curious on what kind of team we're going to see in the U.S. So that is Saturday at 1 p.m. on TBS or Peacock. Should be entertaining, but I know college football is on Saturday, so watch what you want, I guess. So should be interesting, though. I think the U.S. have a good chance, but Canada has been a very good team the last couple of months, so should be a really entertaining game. All right, guys, that will do for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. 125 episodes in the books. Appreciate you guys getting this far. If you guys have, go check out the YouTube channel because our Sports Jeopardy episodes have all been dropped, and that was a really fun series. We got 5 episodes in that one, about 15 minutes each one. So if you guys have to go check that one out. That was a lot of fun to do, a lot of fun to rewatch. Then we also got a college football preview episode that came out last week. If you guys haven't checked that one out, the podcast dad and I broke down pretty much everything you guys need to know for this upcoming season, our expectations, our best teams, our worst teams, anything you guys want to know, it's probably in that episode. So go check out that one. That came out last week. This upcoming weekend, it's going to be nothing on the slate. Very easy, light weekend. So just enjoy watching some sports, and then we'll see you guys next Wednesday. So I appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys later.